Hello, and welcome to Graywood Gardening. Our spruce trees have finally begun to put on some new growth here in the middle of May. And this tender new growth, these spruce tips, are actually supposed to be edible. But what I want to use them for is to make a spruce-infused gin. I've never tried this before, but it sounds like it would be amazing. And apparently all you need to do is take these spruce tips when they're still very small and young, and you just pull them right off and toss them in a jar. And you just keep picking these and filling your jar up till your jar is almost full. You don't need to pack them down or put them down tightly at all. Although, I kind of want to try tasting one of these. Oh wow. So at first it tastes a little bit like pine, but then it's got this super strong citrusy lemony flavor. That's not what I would have expected. I don't know if I'd want to eat it in my salad, but I'm also not sure if I would object. The spruce tips are actually very tender. They're not prickly like the actual needles of the tree. Wow, that's actually really surprisingly good. So we just need to fill up the jar. And of course, any spruce tips that you pull off are not going to be growing this year. This spruce tree, I don't need it to get any bigger, so I'm happy to have it stop growing. All right, and I think that's just about all we need. Now, supposedly, different varieties of spruce trees have different flavors, and some are better and some are worse. So I actually have a blue spruce over here, and I thought maybe I would collect tips from both of them and see which makes a better gin. So this blue spruce happily is beginning to put on its growth at the same time. Some of these are actually looking a little bit big, but there's plenty of small tender ones. And actually, I wonder if we can actually taste the difference between the two. Oh! Okay. That tastes like eating a pine tree. That is night and day from the other spruce. I do not think we'll be using the blue spruce. We'll just make the gin with what we have. All right, now all we need to do is fill this up with the giant jar of gin. The important thing is to make sure that you're pouring in enough gin to completely cover the spruce tips. Because actually, if any of the spruce tips are sticking up out of the gin, they can actually rot if they're tender growth. But the alcohol of the gin will preserve them. So once it's full, we can put the lid on. And I'm told it's a good idea to leave this out for a few days, someplace where you're going to see it. And just a couple times a day, give it a little shake and try to get those spruce tips to settle down. And once they're definitely all below the level of the gin, then seal it up tight, put it someplace dark, and wait for at least a month and up to 6 months, depending on how much spruce flavor you want infused in your gin. So I'm going to give it a month or two, and then we'll take it out and give it a taste test, and I'll let you know how it goes. Well, we have had a really busy past couple of weeks. We've done a lot of little projects outside, but we've had two really big ones. We've got another load of compost to spread on the bank of the veggie garden, and we finally got around to spreading the wildflower seeds in the yard area, even though we didn't actually manage to get rid of the wood chip pile first. Here's what happened. It is finally time to plant the wildflowers in the yard area. I would have preferred to have gone to this about a month ago, sometime in April, but better late than never. Now, my tractor doesn't actually have a tiller attachment, so I have rented a tractor for the day that does come with a tiller. I don't actually need to till the ground very deeply. I really just need to break up some of the clumps of grass and break up the compaction on the surface to create a nice tilth for the seeds to fall into so they can germinate. And because we're planting lots of perennials, this should be the only time we need to do this. So Hopefully this won't be too time consuming and won't take all day. Let's get started. That tiller is a beast of a machine. Did a great job on this whole area. I tilled a little bit in back and by the play area, the entire yard area, and I also tilled on the other side of the driveway in the area that will be the orchard one day. Now we just need to get a seed mix put together, and I think tomorrow will be the perfect day to spread it on all this newly tilled ground, because it's supposed to rain tomorrow afternoon and then all of the next day, which should be perfect for getting the seeds set in the soil really well and off to a good start. Okay, we need to make a wildflower seed mix to spread in the yard and the orchard area, and that's actually what everything in this box is for. We're going to start with the Eden Brothers Midwest Wildflower Seed Mix. And this is a mix of annuals and perennials, so there'll be some stuff in here that'll actually bloom this year, and not everything will be waiting for future years. So I ordered all my seeds from Eden Brothers back in January or February, and they actually shipped me the wrong order. They shipped me a whole bunch of seeds that I didn't need, and I contacted them, and they immediately apologized and shipped me the correct order, but I got to keep the wrong order, and some of the stuff in the wrong order we can use. Some of it we can't, which is like a Northwest seed mix. So we'll be using some of that and a whole bunch of packets of seed that I got that I want to add to this collection. First of all, just about every place I order seeds from, if you order enough, they give you these little like free gift packets, like, oh, here's some wildflower seeds as a free gift. So I'm just going to put all of those in here. I've got a couple from Prairie Moon Nursery, which is a native seed mix, which sounds perfect. Then Eden Brothers has sent me a whole bunch, because I've had a lot of Eden Brothers orders. And these are all just open pollinated flower seed mix, which also sounds like exactly what we want for that area. Okay, so then some of the seeds that I bought specifically because I wanted them included in here, I got New England aster, and I love asters. They are native to Minnesota, including the New England aster. But also, I wanted to be sure that I had plenty of things that bloomed both early in the year and late in the year, and I felt like sometimes the wildflower seed mixes focused a little too much on the stuff that just blooms in the middle of summer. So along those lines, I also have columbine. This is Aquilegia canadensis, which is the columbine that is native to Minnesota. Colorado yarrow mix. I have showy goldenrod, which again is a late fall bloomer. Common milkweed. Any wildflower garden in Minnesota has got to have some kind of milkweed in it. Bee balm, which this is just a mix. Some bee balms are native to Minnesota. My hunch is most of these are not. A mix of different kinds of columbine other than the native one, but these are ones with much larger blossoms. Prairie blazing star, which is my favorite form of liatris. Icelandic poppies, which I'm a huge fan of. Viola tricolor, the old Johnny jump-ups. Okay, now in addition to the seed packets that I specifically bought for this, I will also be adding in Cleome seeds. These are seeds that my father gathered from his cleome plants. And now, oh, look at that, there's another bag of cleome seeds. Now we can start adding in the various wildflower seed mixes that and other seeds that Eden Brothers sent me by mistake, starting with the deer-resistant wildflower seed mix. So that sounds kind of perfect for us, actually, given how bad our deer are. All perennial mix. I'm happy to add some more perennials into the mix of annuals and perennials we already have. The bee's knees pollinator mix, so a mix of flowers that are specifically good for attracting pollinators. Foxglove seeds, I love foxglove. Oriental poppies. Now in addition to that, I actually have another 5-pound bag of the Midwest seed mix, but I'm honestly not sure if I'm going to need it. This bucket is filled up to here. So now I'm just going to do my best. Whew, don't breathe that in. I'm going to do my best to mix these up as best as I can. It won't be perfect. When I'm spreading the seeds, there'll be some areas that get more of one kind of seed, more of another kind, and that's just fine. All right, and now I think we're ready to plant. The most common advice for spreading wildflower seeds is to mix white sand in with your seeds, using either just as much sand as you have seeds or even twice as much sand as you have seeds. The logic behind this is, number one, when you're throwing the seeds, you won't be dumping too many seeds in one place because half or 2/3 of what you're throwing is actually sand. And number two, because it's white sand on black dirt, you're able to see what areas you've seeded and what areas you haven't. I will not be using that method. I have done that in the past. I'm not a huge fan of it for 2 reasons. Number one, it is a huge pain in the butt to mix this volume of seeds with that volume of sand. You actually have to do it in little batches because the sand is so dense and hard to mix. But number two, I find that when I'm throwing the seed and sand mixture, the sand actually goes much farther than the seeds. And so the sand isn't necessarily a good visual, and the seeds do tend to clump a lot more where you're standing and be a lot thinner further out. Instead, what I'm going to be doing, which just is what I found works for me, is I grab a handful of seeds and I hold it cupped in my hand with my fingers a little bit apart, not completely together, and then I just gently shake my hand back and forth, letting a little bit of seeds fall out at a time, and I move my hand back and forth as I walk. It takes a lot longer than throwing the seeds, but I seem to get really good distribution. The seed goes a long way, but it is a little bit of a slow process. So it is supposed to rain any time now, but hopefully not for a couple of hours, and I've got a lot of territory to cover, so let's get started. done. What I planted was a mixture of annual and perennial seeds, so we will be getting some blooms this year, although probably not until August, but the vast majority of the plants won't bloom until next year or even later. So it's really next year or the year after that the area is really going to start looking amazing. Of course, it won't be solid flowers. We're going to have patches of turf grass and prairie grass and other random weeds that blow in on the breeze, but that's all part of having the natural look. I am really happy with the seed coverage that we got, however. I even have some seed left over. And you could not have asked for a better day for this project. There's almost no breeze, so nothing to blow the seeds around, and it's going to start raining any second now, and then it's going to rain for the rest of the day today and all day tomorrow. So perfect conditions for starting a large area of seeds, and also means that I'm going to have the next day or two off of yard work. I think I can handle that. It's like deja vu all over again. It's another 14 yards of compost. The first load of this I spread on the south bank of the veggie garden. I seeded it over, and all of those seeds are sprouting really nicely now along the bank, but there wasn't enough compost to cover both banks. So this load now is going to go on the north bank, and we'll get that spread out and get that seeded in as well. So as you can see, I've already spread a good 6 feet of wood chips at the bottom of the hill, and the reason for this is I just want to give some separation, some empty space between where all the plants are going to be and where the deer fence is going to be bordering the vegetable garden. What I think is interesting is the top of this hill is actually the forest floor, and you can see where the soil is actually starting to run down the hill from the top, and plants are actually already starting to grow there. So I don't think it's going to be essential that I get all of the compost at the very top of the hill. It's really this middle strip right above the wood chips that's important. Okay, that is pretty good coverage across the entire north bank. I actually decided I'm not going to seed today because there is no rain in the forecast for the next several days. And I'm worried that if I put the seed down now, over the course of the next several days, most of it will blow away before we actually get any rain to settle it down into the compost. So next time there's rain in the forecast, I'll get the seed put down here. But in the meantime, the hard part of the job is done. Well, that's all I have for you on this video. Next time, we're finally going to get to the garden centers and we'll be planting up the cottage garden. So until then, happy gardening. We'll just make the gin with what we have.
tree.